Okay, we are going to do a follow-up today on the Morality with Motamedi episode or question that we had a couple of days ago. The question was, with genetic enhancement possible, it will be more and more common in the future. Should all genetic enhancements be legal? And if not, what should be restricted? Are designer babies moral? Now, Lewis, your sort of general assessment before we get into the feedback was you're pretty open on this. You were pretty permissive. You said, yeah, it should mostly all be legal.
Right. I did not have a moral objection to what we were talking about.
Now, what about, one interesting reaction that came up was, what about if someone wants to basically modify their fetus to make it so that their child is not gay? Would that be moral in your mind?
Well, I don't think it would be immoral, because if you're changing any number of characteristics, but who really cares if you change that one? It's not something that is, well, I suppose it's still stigmatized, but
yes.
Why would that be a big deal, right? I can't think of a reason why that would be a big deal.
Well, because you're basically saying we as a policy,
you're playing God anyway.
So you think it's not really that different depending on which traits you look at.
What we were talking about was really being able to change just about anything. And so if you're playing God and you're editing everything anyway, I don't see why that would be off the table. You could go the opposite direction too. You could decide that you want your child to be gay. I don't know why you would want to pick either, but someone might want to. And if you can edit everything else, maybe you should just be able to do that too.
All right, let's look at some of the reactions from the audience. We'll take a look at these one by one. All of these interesting in some way, shape, or form. First one, I have often thought that it would be immoral. However, for whatever reason, your video changed my mind. On another note, what would be the military uses of this? Those would be very interesting. Yes, you could weaponize genetic enhancement and changes. No question about that. Let's take a look at the next one. Gene editing is the future. There's no way around this. There will very likely be a transitional period that has issues like classes, which could be alleviated by progressive policies like BGI and putting universal healthcare programs in charge of gene editing. Any other idea is basically the equivalent of saying robots will never catch on because some people won't own them. So sort of looking at the inevitability of this technology. Next response, this is eugenics personified. What right do you have to determine what traits your children have? It's effing disgusting. They won't truly be your children, and always be a reminder that you're a vain C. I think we're not allowed to say that word on our broadcast stations. C blank blank T, who wasn't content to love your children as they came. I mean, you could make the argument, Lewis, that even decisions you make after the child is born drastically alters the child. So why is it different if you alter your child by nature or nurture? Isn't it one way or the other? The parents are playing God with the child?
Yeah, and the idea that it's not truly your child, would this person say that about an adopted child or something along those lines? That's a little nuts.
Let's take a look at the next response that I want to put up for you here. A clear distinction can be made between enhancing the baby's life with changes that yield positive results from actually making changes that hinder normal human capability or cause disease. Also, these changes should be encouraged and available to all people, not like a product to buy that only the richest could afford. The problem is, who decides what's a positive change and what's a negative change? This is exactly where it starts to get complex when you want to say anything other than no changes are allowed or all changes are allowed. Who decides what is a positive change, Lewis?
Well, you can't really decide that. All you can do is decide what editing is legal and what editing is illegal. So right off the bat, the easy one is eliminating diseases and illnesses, right? That's easy. Then I guess it gets more complicated.
A couple more responses to take a look at here with you in response to Tuesday's Morality with Motamedi. I am concerned about this situation. A parent finds out their kid has a predisposition to be gay and edits it out, thereby destroying the gay community. I'd argue this is ethical from the parent's point of view, but not from society's point of view. Or perhaps a black parent makes their child white in the hopes of increasing their safety and success in life and destroys over time an entire race. There are hypotheses, Lewis, that eventually humans will be one race because of the shrinking world due to transportation and intermarriage, that eventually there will be essentially one race. Is it different if we essentially have one race in 100 years or 200 years or 1,000 years because of intermixing versus because of gene editing, if the end result is the same?
It's an interesting question. Eliminating different communities through this too, that is interesting. Imagine that if just because of the stigma around homosexuality that people decide altogether, and it's and anyone can do it, that would be insane.
It would also arguably be a departure from what is natural among so many species, right? As we know, homosexuality existing in certainly hundreds, if not thousands, of different animal species.
Well, we're clearly leaving the world of what is natural or this entire thing.
No doubt about it.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. Okay, and I think we have one more here, one or two more, three more. Genetic modification should only be allowed to treat rather than enhance. Obviously, you need to work out what we define as normal operating parameters. Yes, that gets at the point of what is normal. From an evolutionary point of view, it should be really limited. We need genetic variation to evolve. If we keep selecting for desirable genes, we get less variation. Very important topic. This has been discussed many times, not so much in terms of gene editing, but broadly speaking, when we talk about evolution, it is variation that leads to the sort of natural selection of traits more likely to survive long enough to pass on their genes. And that is one of the most interesting angles of this thing, no doubt about it. And lastly here, maybe the penis size. And this one I don't really understand. Are they saying maybe penis size is something that should be not allowed? Or maybe penis size is something that should be allowed under genetic editing? I actually don't know what they meant.
I don't either, but it's out there. And breast size, penis size, butt size, the works, Dave, it will all be editable.
Now, Lewis, we've known about the incredible drama you've had in relationships where smoking is a factor, right? What if you could do a genetic edit to make someone completely repelled from the idea of smoking? They could never take up smoking. Would that be a positive for you?
Removing the addictive traits of people would be a net positive, wouldn't it?
Sure.
Isn't that something that we want to be able to eliminate?
Yeah, but I'm saying more specifically, the coding into someone's genetics that they just
be
would
repulsed by cigarettes.
They would be repulsed by cigarettes. Exactly.
Let's do it.
You like that?
I'm on board.
I think this could drastically change Lewis's dating life. I think that this has huge, huge potential. All right, let's take a break. Join us on Reddit, davidpakman.com/Reddit. That's REDDIT. Fascinating interview after the break.
Gamefly is sort of like Netflix for video games. They have over 8,000 new and classic games for Xbox One, Xbox 360, PS4, PS3, Wii, and a bunch of other platforms. And you can play as many games as you want for one monthly fee. And if you find some games you want to keep, you can buy them for a low used price. There's never any due dates or late fees. And our audience can get a free 30-day trial at gameflyoffer.com/TDPS. The games are shipped directly to you with return envelopes included. There's no contracts, and you can rent games through the mobile app. Get the free 30-day trial for the David Pakman Show audience and support our show by going to gameflyoffer.com/TDPS.